All right, so we're going to get started in a minute. This episode's going to be a little different than usual, just because, the news, the main story this week, BlackRock tokenizing, a $25 billion fund on Hedera is the headline. Is it true? Is it for real? I don't know. We'll find out. There's a lot to talk about here. And there's a couple quick updates. God, what's going on with my microphone? That's the other thing. Everything's kind of wonky today. Here we go. Hope nothing breaks. That's the other thing too, is like, there's some other things that we want to talk about, but I want to talk about the BlackRock stuff. And I want to get into it right away. We got people coming in. Shout out to everyone tuning in live on Twitter Spaces. It's going to be a good one. So it is, we usually do the theme song intro, but it's like, whatever, I want to get into it. Hashgraph enthusiasts, I am your host, Brandon Davenport at itsbrandond. I've been on X posting furiously. And we got a lot of news to talk about. The main story this week, of course, is about BlackRock, and the headline that was published yesterday regarding a money market fund being tokenized on Hedera. It's huge. It's exciting. There's a lot to talk about, and I want to talk about it in kind of like four parts. So I want to talk about some background. I want to talk about kind of the initial news, like actually what happened, what's actually going on. And then what the response from the community has been. And then I want to talk about the haters. Then I want to talk about the bozos. I want to talk about the clowns. I want to talk about maybe folks that aren't so informed. I don't know. But there's been a lot of, we'll say, interesting and lively and energetic discourse on socials today, largely in part thanks to a tweet and then a CoinDesk article and a Cointelegraph article that were both smoldering piles of garbage. But we'll talk about those and what they all mean. But real quick, first, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody tuning in live. It's episode 122, Hashgraph enthusiasts. Billions of real-world assets tokenized on Hedera. It is April 24th. And the show is live every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. The show's going through updates. It started as an audio-only show. Now it's video, and still on Twitter Spaces live. Not so much great of a video angle. We got a lot more action happening in the little studio here. We got other different angles and all sorts of things, but Twitter Spaces, we're doing what we can. The show will be transitioning to YouTube Live and X Live videos and all that kind of stuff soon. But before we get to the BlackRock stuff, two things. One, amazing shout out to supporters of the show. This is a show that does not have any ads or sponsors or anything. It's literally just people sending HBAR to an account, and then I sell the HBAR and buy stuff for the show, which is needed. And the show has just grown so much over the last few months, thanks to supporters. So that's greatly, greatly appreciated. And also, we got a couple other news stories that I wanted to share just before we dive into the BlackRock stuff. So if you're tuning in for the BlackRock breakdown in these four parts, stay tuned. I wanted to highlight some other important news from the ecosystem before we dive in. And also too, there's a little comment button at the bottom right of the spaces. If there's any other kind of, breaking news or any kind of, as we know, things are currently developing right now with the Hedera BlackRock story, feel free to share those updates as well in the bottom right. Just click that comment button and share them. Might have some people stop by to talk about some stuff. Maybe not. I don't know, but we'll have to see. But let's dive into it. So real quick, just some updates from the ecosystem, from the Hedera community. Yesterday, I was on an awesome Spaces with the folks at the Hashgraph Online working group that are developing Hashinals. And it looks like Defiance has launched the first dynamic Hashinal, which is basically a Hashinal is just on-chain or on-graph images or videos or any other type of asset inscribed directly on Hedera. So very similar to what's happening on Bitcoin on Hedera, but it's dynamic. So the NFTs can update after the fact. So if you're interested in those developments, check that out. They did a drop, and these are NFTs that'll update in your wallet. And this is ahead of HIP 657 arriving on Hedera, which is due for, I guess, May now. So this is exciting stuff. And again, this is a little bit of a paradigm shift in NFTs and these different types of things on Hedera, just having them be completely on chain. So huge shout out to that group. That was and for details, I don't know if they recorded it. I don't know if they did, but there's also a great Spaces yesterday too. So go check that out. Also, Hashpack, big update from Hashpack regarding PAC token. And this grabbed my attention. As many of you, I am also excited about projects doing some new things in the ecosystem, especially when it comes to incentives and just encouraging people to utilize the network, rewarding people for utilizing the network. We talked last episode, I did a deep dive on PAC token, so go and check that out, episode 121. There's a clip on YouTube and on X as well. Go check it out. Just search like itsbrandond PAC token or whatever. There's a good breakdown. But Hashpack has posted a new update just hours ago regarding PAC token that I think is pleasantly surprising to hear. So basically, the TLDR on this is Hashpack is currently in conversations with multiple exchanges to list PAC tokens. So when this was announced, it was really just kind of a handful of, I think it was like Saucer Swap, something else, maybe something else. I get the sense that this initiative and this launch, because of the attention it's getting, and also I think the added attention that the ecosystem is getting, changing plans, switching it up to capture more opportunity. So they're basically talking, it sounds like more exchanges, and they want to do a bit more of a coordinated launch. That's what it really comes down to. And they're looking to see the airdrop, the centralized exchange listing, and the decentralized exchange listing happen simultaneously. So that's very interesting. And then in regards to the rest of it, nothing's changed. Everything outlined in the white paper is still going ahead as planned. And basically the airdrop, the snapshot, the listings, all that kind of stuff shifted back a few weeks. So they're going to provide plenty of notice, but that's the update from Hashpack. I know my initial response was like, no, it's delayed, but actually it's not really delayed. I think we're going to see this with projects. I mean, this is a great sign as this ecosystem grows and as new opportunities present themselves. What are these projects going to be doing to take advantage of that opportunity? Quick pivots, all that good stuff. Another quick mention, on Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I'm going to be hosting a panel focused on music NFTs on Hedera, how musicians in the music industry will onboard to Hedera, and also the new music metadata standards, HIP 920, that I've been working on with the Hashgraph NFT working group. Incredible stuff. And the HBAR Foundry has been so gracious to host a live video panel for us, which I'll be hosting with guests, including Patches from Turtle Moon, Andrew from Tune FM, Vicente from Vicizi, and Pluto from Hashpack. Again, people that worked on this music metadata HIP. Lots of good stuff to chat about on that. And again, that's HBAR Foundry, Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, LinkedIn, I think too. I mean, we're going global with this stuff. And by the way, this thumbnail, you can't see it on the Twitter space, but the thumbnail that was put together for this is just glorious. Like, look at these guys. Just a couple legends. Okay, so moving on here again, just blasting through a couple items. And this kind of is leading us into the BlackRock story. We're starting into the juicy stuff now. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. We're starting into the juicy stuff now. So there's been a couple, like with this BlackRock stuff, there's been a couple things leading up to it. And then also like there's things that happen because of it that are just interesting to see as well. Especially when a network gets more attention. Most notably or most obviously is social engagement, social metrics, Lunar Crush, which is kind of the authority on social engagement and market sentiment for the crypto space, noted that Hedera, for the tag HBAR, social interactions as of yesterday at 3:33 p.m., they've gone up 111%, and the price was up 37%. So obviously that's drastically increased. But we could say that there's been, from these numbers extrapolating off of that, and basically what I'm seeing on social media right now, you could safely say there's been a 5x, 10x, maybe even higher in just social engagement awareness. In Hedera, I'm seeing HBAR trending on X as well. So that's big. But more so than that even, what we're also seeing is some other interesting things, such as the Google search trends for HBAR. We're also seeing that hockey stick as well. If you go to Google Trends and you search HBAR, you're going to see a chart that looks very similar to the price of HBAR yesterday. It's all these different types of things that really start to paint a bit of a picture as we zero in on the BlackRock news, which is looking at it as somebody that knows nothing about Hedera, nothing about HBAR, and is just kind of seeing things going on from the outside. What you're seeing is real numbers, right? You're seeing real interest, and that's reflected in this data, right? The interest in Hedera HBAR has gone up substantially in the last 24 hours, which is great to see. But with that interest, as I was talking about last episode, it brings some flies. It brings some interesting characters, which we'll talk about. And I think the most fascinating number to look at that I think is, of course, like there's price, right? We've all been looking at the price of HBAR, and we'll take a look as well. But the most interesting number, for me at least, I shared this to X just maybe an hour or so ago, which was the volume of HBAR, right? Not so much just the price of what an HBAR is, but how much trading is happening. And for reference, back in 2021, back in the major bull run where Hedera saw that ride up to 40, 50 cents, right? The volume on that move was $500 million, $1 billion, right? You could look at it a 24-hour volume, which is substantial. That's substantial volume. And you could consider roughly $1 billion of volume 24-hour wise. That is what we would consider like an all-time high for Hedera until now. Yesterday, in this 24-hour period, we've seen a 5,405% increase in volume on HBAR, leading us to a volume in the last 24 hours of $3.5 billion. So a 3x over the previous all-time high in volume. And volume is important because when we see price moves, if there isn't volume to back up a price move in an asset, you really don't know what could happen with it. There's not a lot of strength. But with this increased volume, it's showing again, these numbers are all starting to add up and paint a much more solid picture. And then, of course, I mean, we can look at the price of HBAR. I'm pretty sure everyone's been glued to the price of HBAR. But let's take a quick little look here because it's been interesting, right? Considering everything that we're going to talk about, it's been interesting. Another very important number to keep in mind is Hedera was in, I believe, the 39th spot at the beginning of the week on CoinMarketCap and rode its way all the way to the 21st spot in market cap. And those are important numbers in CoinMarketCap. It shows the list. Also, HBAR reached the top 3 in regards to price appreciation in a period. So HBAR really kind of entered into that kind of like hot trending asset space on CoinMarketCap and other kind of aggregators and websites. And if we look at the price action, what you can see here is over the day, maybe I can go a little bigger here. So, right, what we've got here, and for people listening on the Twitter Spaces, the recording will have my computer screen and everything. But what we see here is like over the last, like you could say, month, we've seen a little bit of a ride down from double digits. And then over the last week, we've just been chilling at, 7, 8, 9 cents. News drops. and we see Hedera HBAR ride up to the double digits, up to almost 20 cents US. And so that move was a very strong move, again, because we're talking about volume. And if we zoom in a little more here, then you see a ride down from that 18 cent range, and we're coming back, and we're now testing the 12, 13 cents range, which historically has been a major kind of area of resistance and support for HBAR over the years, that 13 cent area. So it's a healthy place to be if we're seeing any consolidation. Now, what's interesting is with these price moves, volume hasn't really relented. Volume is only slowly increasing. So it means that there's a lot of money flowing through HBAR right now, right? If we look at, let's set a baseline. If we look at a baseline, Hedera on an average day over this year, you could say has $50 to $100 million per day moving through it, right? And it's been that way for a year pretty much. And again, putting it further into context, this last day, we've gone from an average of $50 to $100 million to $3.5 billion in volume. That can't be understated how important that number is. Right now, it's almost more important than price. Because what it shows is as price kind of rides down and retests that support, there's volume there, which means that this is an accumulation phase for HBAR. Right? We can't just hypothesize that, oh, people are buying and selling HBAR right now and they're opening positions and blah, blah, blah. It's like the numbers are literally right there. That's what it's telling us. And it's a lot. More so, again, there's 3 times more people now buying and selling HBAR today than there were the last bull run at its peak. So just keep that into context. So that sets a little bit of the stage. And just real quick, before we dive into the news and start really unpacking this BlackRock stuff, we have an important update as well from the Hedera subreddit. Hedera subreddit user OVUMVIR said about a month ago, if the big news is BlackRock, I'll shit myself. They've provided an update that they have done that. So that I think is a worthy update as well. So let's dive into it. Like I said, BlackRock news, everybody take a minute, grab a bevy if you need it, hunker down. We're going to get into it. So again, and I mean a huge shout out to supporters. Appreciate all you guys. Now, like I said, I'm going to break this up into 4 parts. Part 1 is, and again, each of them I'm just going to take some time, but I think it was like this news item was so big, I had to organize it a little bit for myself. So part 1 is going to just be about background. What's happened up until this point, kind of just a little overview. The second part will be about the actual news that dropped yesterday. What was that? The third part I'm going to talk about is the community response in the minutes and hours after, what was unfolding, what were the hot takes. And then in the fourth part, we're going to talk about some haters because I think that they are an important part of this story, an important part for us to understand. Like going into this, I think what's happened over the last 24 hours has really reminded, H-barbarians, if you will, that no matter how good the Hedera technology is, no matter how strong the governing council is, no matter how great the use case is, those will not protect us from all of the trials and tribulations that other networks have experienced on their way to the top 5, right? We got a long way ahead of us, but what I'm seeing right now makes me super bullish. Seeing a community galvanize together. I'm seeing competitors in the Hedera space kind of almost like lock arms a bit, and it's great to see. And so let's talk about some background of this news. So let's kind of put ourselves in our shoes of before this news happened. It's Monday. Hey, HBAR is at 8 cents. What's going on? What's new? So as a lot of folks will recall, on March 28th, on episode, I guess it was 118 or 117 of the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show, I shared that I had been contacted by a very reputable insider source in the Hedera ecosystem with knowledge of these types of things. And I mentioned that, and I'd encourage people to go back and listen to that episode, but it had been shared to me by this source that there would be news substantial enough in April to, drive price and really change Hedera's positioning in the industry, and also hinting to a, monster use case in Q3. So those are the things shared with me. And looking at what's happened over, again, the last 24 hours, I think that this BlackRock news item is the news item that the source was referring to. Again, the details weren't shared with me at the time, but I think this is what the source was referring to. I don't know what else they would be referring to. Checks all the boxes. It's big, drives price, changes Hedera's positioning in the ecosystem. So I think this checks the boxes. So I think we can safely say that the big and to be fair as well, there's been many other big news items this month as well, but I really think this is the big one. So I think that we can all safely assume case closed on the April rumors. And I would say that, the source has shown its credibility. And I'll continue, following the other information that the source shared with me previously and kind of keeping up with that. But so BlackRock, BlackRock has $14 trillion worth of assets under management. They're often, let's say, memed on by, let's say, owning the world. A lot of people joke and they say, well, BlackRock's already on the governing council. They own all the companies on the governing council and this and that. And we know that there's much more nuance to that. It's not necessarily true, but that's the meme about BlackRock, just speaking to, the size of BlackRock. BlackRock is massive. You could say that BlackRock owns one of the biggest slices of pie of America and the rest of the world. $14 trillion of assets under management. Now, BlackRock has dipped their toes into crypto as we've learned over the last year. And something that I think comes to people's mind with this news story may be, BlackRock tokenizing Bitcoin ETFs or maybe Ethereum ETFs. And that's exciting. And some people might go, oh, this Hedera news, it's similar. And it's actually not. It's actually different. And just a quick explainer on this. So when BlackRock and these other institutions provide Bitcoin ETFs, what that's about is it's about utilizing traditional finance to interface with crypto. Right. So purchasing a traditional financial instrument like a electronic or exchange traded fund, an ETF, to get into Bitcoin or get into Ethereum through traditional finance. What this story is, what the BlackRock Hedera story is it's about interfacing with crypto to use traditional finance assets, right? So it's a traditional money market fund, tokenized, and using DLT, right? Using this technology to interface with it. So it's different. It's flipped on its head. It's not, let's use traditional finance to interface with crypto. It's like, let's use crypto to interface with traditional finance. So this is the two approaches when Larry Fink talks about the future of finance as tokenization. These are those kinds of, two things we start seeing, but really it's this laneway, the stuff happening with Hedera, that really is what that tokenization stuff is all about. And BlackRock isn't the first to tokenize real world assets on Hedera. And I think that's something else that's really important for people to keep in mind. This news story isn't about, hey, real world assets have been tokenized on Hedera. That's not what this news story is about. What this news story is, hey, BlackRock is the next one to do it. So who's done it previously? There's a few. I'll just mention a quick few. So there's companies like Red Swan that is tokenizing real estate on Hedera, and they have they speak to a multi-billion-dollar market that they want to tokenize. And they have tokenized homes on Hedera. One recent project they did that was really important is they fractionalized tokenized ownership in a home, which was very interesting. Also, Toko, Toko is a subsidiary of DLA Piper. DLA Piper is a governing council member. They have also tokenized real estate. I believe that in 2021, they tokenized $500 million worth of real world assets on Hedera. And then, we had Aberdeen, right? Massive institution. They have $600 billion of assets under management. They tokenized a $16 billion money market fund on Hedera. And Aberdeen is also a Hedera governing council member. And interestingly, that money market fund was tokenized through Archax, right? Archax or Archax is going to come up in this story quite a bit, but Aberdeen tokenized $16 billion in money market funds as well. So right out the gate, right, you've got tens of billions of dollars of real world assets already tokenized on Hedera. They have been the whole time, right? And you get the news story about BlackRock. And why the BlackRock news story is so different is literally just the name BlackRock, right? Everybody's talking about BlackRock in crypto right now. They've got a lot of buzz with the Bitcoin ETF. So this is the narrative part of crypto that's so important, right? The logical, objective part of your brain goes, well, Aberdeen tokenized the $16 billion fund, BlackRock tokenized the $25 billion fund, apples and oranges, just another announcement similar to Aberdeen. But it's just not. It's a narrative in crypto. And it's so clear how that plays out, especially seeing the impact it has on price. And again, CEO of BlackRock being very public about the fact that he believes tokenization is the future for investing, Larry Fink. So a little bit more background. I think arguably one of the most important players in this news story is Archax. So Archax is a London-based digital asset exchange, brokerage, and custodian primarily targeting institutional investors. So what that means is basically Archax is a company that will work with companies like Aberdeen and BlackRock that own a bunch of stuff to pack it up and make it accessible, right? These massive institutions like BlackRock and Aberdeen, they're going to work with all sorts of different partners to take all these different types of products they have and financial assets they have and make them accessible. Archax is one of these, and Archax happens to choose Hedera as a network for some of these products. And the reason Archax has chosen Hedera is because it makes them really performant and it allows them to provide a better service to clients like BlackRock. It's that simple. There are many, many companies like Archax out there that work with traditional finance companies and institutions to tokenize funds on many, many networks, whether they're blockchain or not. I don't know if Archax also tokenizes funds on other networks, but Archax as a company, their job is to make these assets available to people to invest in and create those mechanisms. And for BlackRock, they said, what we need for this is we need to utilize Hedera. That's going to generate the best result for BlackRock, for their customers, and for our client, BlackRock. Like it's just technology choices, collaborating together and getting something out to market and working with their client, BlackRock, to make sure that that's done properly. And like any part of a technology stack, Hedera is just part of that technology stack. And so it doesn't matter how much you kind of split hairs on that, right? News item, BlackRock money market fund tokenized on Hedera. That's the news. So that's really exciting. So back to Archax. Archax founded in 2018. The interesting thing about Archax is recognized as the first digital securities exchange regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority in London, emphasizing compliance and security. That's something very important here. What that accreditation gives BlackRock is the ability to have a very robust and secure financial product, tokenized financial product. Probably one of the reasons BlackRock chose Archax, right? It's all about making choices. It's BlackRock saying we want to choose Archax. They've got the juice we need, and that's that. Now the actual infrastructure for Archax, they utilize technologies like Medico's digital asset custody on IBM Cloud. And they're all about security, efficiency, all sorts of different asset types, including digital securities and cryptocurrencies. Their offers range from including trading, custody, brokerage of digital assets. And they've also expanded offerings to over-the-counter desk and all that kind of stuff. Now, they raised $36.5 million in funding to support operations and expansion. So Archax is a well-funded operation at this point. And they're headquartered in London. So that's Archax. And again, they're the company that's charged with making these financial products from folks like BlackRock and Aberdeen available and usable. And basically what they're doing is they're helping solve the trust and safety concerns in the digital money world, right? That's what they're focusing on, is tackling the trust and safety. So the other player in this that I think got overshadowed a little bit, and I want to kind of throw them some flowers, is Onera. So Onera is the third name. So this announcement really was kind of like BlackRock, Archax, Onera. So who is Onera? Well, Onera is building infrastructure for global digital securities market using its FinP2P protocol. So FIN P2P. So obviously a peer-to-peer financial protocol. And their partnerships, they collaborate. So here's what they raised $20 million in Series A's funding from major investors, including JP Morgan and LRC Group. And basically what their job is that connector, right? They're connecting various financial systems to make trading digital securities like stocks and bonds more efficient and accessible globally. So here's those three key pieces right there, right? Is the key piece is BlackRock, which has these things people want, Archax, which has the ability to tokenize those things on a network like Hedera, and then Onera, which facilitates the transactions through the FIN P2P protocol. So those are the players. That's a bit of background. And already, you kind of start to see a bit of a picture here. So let's talk about the actual news drop. What happened? What was the news? So as a lot of people kind of saw, the HBAR Foundation, which is a grant-giving organization in the Hedera ecosystem. CEO is Shane. And basically, they announced that real-world asset history has been made. And what they meant by that was BlackRock's ICS U.S. Treasury Money Market Fund is tokenized on Hedera with Archax and Onera. And that was the news. And so people kind of went, okay, I see the BlackRock logo. What does this mean? Because again, in crypto, when you see the BlackRock logo, people start to lose their minds a little bit. So the news in the article, basically, and I'll just kind of read it for you a bit here. And I've just kind of rewritten a couple things. So Archax, we know all about Archax. They've announced an expansion in their offerings of tokenized money market funds. They've partnered with the HBAR Foundation to include the BlackRock ICS U.S. Treasury Money Market Fund. So we'll take a look at that in a minute, but that's basically just a basket of assets that BlackRock assembles into a fund. It's a money market. Adding to their previous offerings. Money market funds are like savings accounts that invest in short-term debt, right? So they can provide good returns and are considered safer when compared with other investments. And money market funds have been very interesting right now. Higher yields. So this news story is also interesting because, the actual financial product that's being tokenized is pretty hot right now. With high interest rates, currently money market funds can be a good way for investors to get more out of their cash. Archax uses technology to create a secondary market for these tokenized money market funds, making it possible for investors to quickly trade shares of these funds any time of day. So not restricted to whenever the market's open. This is a 24-hour market. And it's also going to be able to help, people potentially use these tokens for like collateral and different stuff like that. It's all very exciting. The CEO of Archax emphasized the importance of offering a variety of money market funds to meet different investment needs. The partnership with Onera is crucial. So that right there, basically what the CEO of Archax is saying is like, listen, we got to have a variety of products people are looking for and that people need. And this particular fund from BlackRock is a product we think people will want to have. And so that's what's very exciting here. So as we said, Onera's technology facilitates transactions in tokenized money market funds for a wide range of service providers. And so it was really the HBAR Foundation that brought these parties together. And so there is another piece of this news that cannot be overlooked that I think is when you look at the HBAR Foundation's tweet and they're like, a historic moment, what they're talking about is also a particular transaction that's detailed in this story. So this transaction involved the purchase of tokenized shares of this BlackRock ICS US Treasury Money Market Fund. It was notably the first multi-million-dollar deal of its kind. So rewind. And I think this is like an aspect of this that has been lost on a few people and has not been a part of the conversation that I think should have been. Not only has this fund been tokenized, it has been transacted. There's been a multi-million-dollar transaction of this fund, and it was facilitated using the Onera FinP2P digital asset network in collaboration with the HBAR Foundation. This will be an actively traded fund, right? These regular investors will be actively trading this fund. That trading will be happening on the Hedera network. And really, to really, I want to put an emphasis on this and make it really, really clear before we dive into the rest of it is the Archax CEO, Hedera leadership, HBAR Foundation leadership, various news sources have all confirmed first person that BlackRock is well aware of Hedera, that Archax is tokenizing their fund on Hedera, and BlackRock themselves approved the press release and announcement surrounding this. This is direct communication, awareness, and involvement from BlackRock. This is not a drill. And that's just what the fact is. And I think that this news can feel too good to be true sometimes, but the reality is that a BlackRock money market fund is on Hedera being transacted, and BlackRock is aware. This isn't something that Archax would do without the express permission of their client, BlackRock. And furthermore, I mean, I think that there's more to this story. I don't think that this is the end to the story. I don't think this is a matter of, before we dive into the community response, just my initial take is kind of like, this just kind of feels like the start of something bigger. This doesn't feel like, the big moment to me. Although this, by definition does feel like the big moment, or maybe it is the big moment. There's so many crazy things happening right now in Hedera. I truly think that kind of on the theme we've been talking about over the week is we do need to think bigger. Even when big things like this happen in this ecosystem, I think that, through a really hard bear market, through some really tough times, the Hedera community has become, very much so calloused in a way, which had to happen. I mean, it's been really tough, but I think that some of those patterns are not going to serve us well. I really think we need to think big about this kind of stuff, especially when we have a big news item like this, right? We really got to think big. And I want to share some of that, but real quick, this is interesting. I wanted to take a look at the actual fund. What, like, people are talking about, like, this BlackRock fund is tokenized on Hedera, but like, let's look at what the actual fund is. I want to take you guys on Twitter Spaces with me, but I have this shitty camera angle. But for those watching the recording, and I'll be posting this later today, I usually post recordings of this show the day after, but too hyped today. So let's take a look at this. So this is the BlackRock website. This is the actual fund on Hedera, and this is just a regular an ETF would look the same. You have different kind of, You have a risk indicator. You have some holdings. You have some historic returns. You got some different facts, some fees, all those different types of things, fund ratings, then the holdings of the fund, right? Nothing fun here. It's just, treasuries and all these different things, right? So, one of the basket of assets, and this is, a bunch of treasuries and stuff. So this is the page. This is the actual fund, right? So if people are curious about, what is this fund from BlackRock? This is what it is. And that was the news. So that was the news that hit. And I think that people's initial reaction was, again, I think based off of what we've seen in the cryptocurrency space and also what we've experienced in Hedera over the last little bit, over the tough period, I think the initial reaction was a little bit too good to be true. Maybe also very excited. And I think that in the minutes following it, very slowly, I started to see people come around to the fact that this was very, very real, and that this was, this truly was, an all substance, no hype moment. And the hype was now on the community. That was the community's job. So right out the gate, one thing that was that was so good to see that I think needs to be highlighted, just as a general theme before we dive into part 3, which is the community responses. And this is a fresh thing. As the news came out, as the community had questions, in the minutes and hours following the announcement, in real time, representatives from Hedera, from Swirlds Labs, from the HBAR Foundation were responding to community questions in real time, providing the community information. And that information continued to spread quickly. And that's something that I don't think we've seen happen before. And I think that with a huge announcement like this and with the amount of resistance that it comes up against, I think that without that coordination, without that transparency, without that fire from the hip communication from Hedera, Swirlds, and the foundation, we'd be in a much worse place right now with this announcement, with all the different FUD and different things around it. I think because so early on, that type of communication was so proactive inside the community, is just incredible. I think that in the past, a key criticism of Hedera, the HBAR Foundation, Swirlds, etc., is the community feeling out of the loop, right? I think that that's been a key criticism, is the community not necessarily feeling like they're part of the inside loop, or feeling like they're asking questions and not getting responses. That's been a key criticism. Not this time around. All I saw was very fast information sharing, really keeping things in the loop as best they can. And so I want to give, the Hedera, the foundation, Swirlds Labs, all those folks, bravo. I don't think this is an easy thing for any network to do when you have news like this that comes up against resistance, like we'll talk about. But I think that great, fantastic job, especially on the rapid communication with the community. I think that was just absolutely critical, absolutely critical. So let's dive into this. The community response, what's going on? So news drops, everybody takes a bit of a breather. People start posting takes, and I want to talk about their takes. I wish, again, I could share them on video with the spaces, but definitely watch the recording. But I want to share a few things. So my first take was just one thing I will say about the Hedera community. And again, this is just, I believe, patterns we have to get over, is sometimes I feel like we always want to get to the we always want to get to the bottom of stuff. And I think there's a time and a place for sure. And, I talk about how important narrative is in crypto, and like when you've got a great news story like this, at least in our community, we have to remember that, we're not going to be short on critics. We're not going to be short on, debate. We don't need any extra. It's really important for the community's initial response to really express that euphoria, because when you have big news stories like this, when you have big price action like this, people want to come join the party. People from other networks want to check out what's going on. They want to be a part of the party. And if they arrive and all they see is HBARbarians talking at each other about the semantics of this announcement and what's true and what's not true, and it's boring. It's like, who wants to be a part of that? So that's something that I think there's a little bit of that. I think we'll get over that. I think that's just, it's been so hard on people over the bear market. So, but I think that largely it was really good to see people memeing, all that kind of stuff. Again, the headline here is a BlackRock fund is tokenized on Hedera. That's what it is. My tweet was basically, to Hedera people asking, but is BlackRock actually involved? Do they know about Hedera? That was, I just saw people saying that after the announcement, like, well, do they actually know about Hedera? It's like, well, if you think about it, yeah, they own the fund, so of course they're going to know about Hedera. And furthermore, Zepsi from the HBAR Foundation made it clear. And again, this comes from direct one-on-one communication with BlackRock, right? BlackRock, approved this announcement. They approved this information. They're communicating directly with these folks at the foundation and all that kind of stuff. So yes, BlackRock knows about Hedera, right? Yes. That is the case. Is BlackRock going to tweet about Hedera? No, they're not. I mean, again, with context, BlackRock has a product. They need help publishing into a marketplace to make it accessible in an innovative way. They've gone to a company that uses Hedera. The news story is now this BlackRock fund is tokenized on Hedera. Groundbreaking. Does BlackRock tweet about all of the different people they work with to publish their funds on marketplaces or whatever? No. Like, does an enterprise, when they launch a product, mention, we're using Oracle databases and we're using it's like, what people care about is the product. Is it fast? Is it efficient? Is it carbon friendly? Is it secure? That's all BlackRock cares about. That's all Archax cares about. That's what Hedera does. And it goes to what Lehman, like, for all of the kind of HBARbarians out there that are, saying these things, it's like Lehman literally said, part of the goal here is like people will be using Hedera without even realizing it. It just matters what revenue and value these things bring to the network. That's what really matters here. And the headlines and the logos and brand names, those are all narrative, and they're so important. And we got to ride that wave. Brady from Bonzo Finance, also ex-Swirlds, shared his thoughts. He said in response to somebody, I think the tweet was deleted, but of course, it's not BlackRock directly. It's through partnership with these real world asset tokenization orgs like Archax Crypto and Securitize on Ethereum. So again, Brady, to that point, it's like, we have to really understand like what the news is here, what the headline is here. Also too, a really important thing, Christian Hasker, Swirlds Labs, tweeted out, we had to wait for BlackRock to sign off to include them in the release. So yes, they know about Hedera. So it's clear that Swirlds Labs, HBAR Foundation, Hedera, all in communication with BlackRock. Also too, some other community takes. HBAR to the Moon shares trillions of dollars are going to flow into Hedera just from this BlackRock partnership. So as we've known, that this isn't, I think this is a little bit of maybe what some of these, haters will refer to as, this is not a partnership. This isn't a partnership with BlackRock. This is a collaboration. This is a regular old joint effort to publish a fund on a market. And the news that it's, the tech stack is on Hedera. So I do agree. We're definitely going to see $1 bazillion flow into Hedera, but this is not a partnership. But I love you, HBAR to the Moon. Appreciate you. This is a good example too of like this kind of stuff. A great example is if an HBARbarian sees this, like, what's my response to HBAR to the Moon's tweet? Am I going to be like, Well, actually, it's not a partnership. Actually, it is, that's someone else's job. It's very clear that other people are up for that task. I think that HBARbarians, I think that there are definitely times to criticize and get to the bottom of stuff and this and that. But like in the heat of the moment, when stuff's moving fast and there's a narrative, it's like, if there's something about grammar or semantics or wording or whatever, it's like, I guarantee you other people will take care of it and levy that criticism. So the fund is valued at, $25 billion. Someone else tweeted that out. And then we saw, of course, some influencers tweeting it out, right? We saw Crypto Mason tweet it out. We also saw Wendy O tweet it out. So these are like the, love them or hate them. These are the kind of, Pokemon of crypto influencers, or maybe Digimon. I don't know. But, Wendy O, 375,000 followers. So like these are some heavy hitters sharing this kind of stuff. So not only was it, grabbing the attention of just regular folks, like this was something that was grabbing the attention of crypto influencers. And that's where this starts to transform just from headline to actual narrative. Also, HBAR to the moon tweets, do you think BlackRock could become a Hedera council member? I think there's a really high chance. Now, do I think BlackRock could become a Hedera governing council member? I don't know. I mean, is there a higher chance now than before? Sure. Does BlackRock meet all the requirements to be on the Hedera governing council? I'd say so. And does BlackRock have an interest in, governing and, managing an L1 enterprise network? I'd say probably. So, how do I feel about that? I think that there are definitely mixed feelings about BlackRock, but I think from a narrative standpoint, BlackRock joining the governing council, I can't say that wouldn't grab eyeballs. Also too, this is worth mentioning too. GM tweets out, this is not the standard crypto partnership or marketing agreement. This is full-fledged BlackRock putting their money on the line and taking a huge step forward with Hedera. I'd say that again, talking about nuance, sentiment of that on the money. And I think that when you say BlackRock putting their money on the line, I think that what can be inferred from that is by working with Archax to tokenize this fund on Hedera, BlackRock is working with a company doing something very innovative and cutting edge on a relatively new L1, which is incredibly risky for a well-established financial institution like BlackRock. And so the amount of risk that BlackRock is taking with this really speaks to the gravity of what's happening here. So I think that that's my takeaway from that. Credible Crypto shares a tweet. I think that this, if we really want to have a mic drop moment on this news, I think that Credible Crypto can kind of own that mic drop moment. He said, BlackRock has officially launched tokenized funds on 2 networks in the space thus far, Ethereum and Hedera. Have I got that right? I mean, I don't know what more you can say to that. And again, when you look at BlackRock tokenizing on Ethereum, it's a similar thing. They use a company like Archax, and it's the same process, right? It's the exact same type of thing. All that matters is the assets are tokenized on Ethereum. All that matters is the assets are tokenized on Hedera. That's the news story. Shane tweets out, CEO of the foundation, the HBAR Foundation, BlackRock has tokenized one of their money market funds on Hedera. Hopefully you've been paying attention. Again, using that word partnership. I mean, maybe it is a partnership. This is the CEO of the HBAR Foundation. I don't know. And to be honest, again, it's like, pick your word. It's like partnership, collaboration, working together, utilizing, it's like, I find that a lot of times criticisms in crypto comes down to semantics, and it's like, whatever. Is it there? Cool. you know. Also, too, CEO and co-founder of Constellation Network, Dag, tweets out, watching Hedera build momentum with BlackRock is so incredibly valuable for the space and adjacent Web3 ecosystem as it builds more confidence across retail institutions. Great job. That kind of stuff is what makes this industry grow. Like, that tweet right there is a great example of like how you do it. Like, that's what's up. That's, I think, what the Hedera community tries to do for other networks. A win for one is a win for everybody in this space at this point. So it's great to see the CEO of DAG just express support like that, because it just brings people together, right? Little actions like that go a long way. Let me see here. Also, worth mentioning too, I mean, there's a shout out. People were giving some shout outs to Aberdeen. I mean, it was always worth mentioning, you know, Aberdeen, a governing council member, the first one to do these tokenized money market funds. Always good to, you know, give a shout out to some real ones. It was good to see too, like there was also other big crypto focused news accounts and update accounts grabbing onto this news, like Real World Asset Watch List, 230,000 followers, right? Shares another milestone from Real World Assets. Hedera just brought the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, on chain. So there you go. I think that's fantastic. And then we got the big boys. So this is a big one. And these things are very important. So Altcoin Daily, at Altcoin Daily IO, is an account with 1.5 million followers, and very prominent. And this is, again, a great example. BlackRock tokenizes money market fund on Hedera. HBAR soars. A picture of the Hedera logo, a picture of Larry Fink. Like, again, it doesn't get more, like, you look at this objectively and you go, does this represent the news story? I don't know. Not really. Is Larry Fink, you know, buying HBAR right now? I don't know. But it's narrative, right? That's what this is about. You have to create these types of narratives. It's just the way that it is. This is the space. This has 6,200 likes and 1,000 reposts. So again, this is not something that is a small announcement. This is being picked up by the majors. And my Twitter question to the community, let me see if I can actually open this up. I'm going to move this too. So I asked the Hedera community, and I haven't even read these yet, so fair warning. I have no idea what I'm gonna see. I asked the Hedera community, what do you think the BlackRock news means for the Hedera ecosystem? What could be next? That's what I asked the Hedera community. So let's see what the Hedera community says. Again, I haven't taken a look at this. So Sivo, Parabolic HBAR, says, enterprises will want to join the council more rapidly. I could see that. I mean, again, this comes down to narrative, right? If there's a narrative out there that creates an environment in which other enterprises want to be a part of that, this could get other enterprises off the sidelines, right? An analogy I use quite often is, it's like people are standing in the side of a pool waiting to jump in. They don't know if the water's cold. They're just kind of waiting to see. Once that first person jumps in, everyone's going to kind of jump in. And BlackRock is a big one. So BlackRock dipping their toes says a lot. So, you know, who knows? Tata says GC. Let me see here. Someone says HBAR to $1. Coinman, the HBAR Barian, says it puts Hedera front and center of real world asset tokenization. I mean, that right there, that's 100% it. All of their clients and downstream partners and vendors will need to adopt their standards in order to interact with these new financial instruments, probably speaking more about Archax. Manon Harmon, the brother of Mance Harmon, co-founder of Hedera, comments on my Twitter post. More TPS, more use cases, more eyes on Hedera, more council members, more. Dig it. Dirty Water Degen says absolute HBAR dominance. Says that RuPaul is going to second guess Solana. Raoul Paul. Hedera ecosystem tokens start moving. Signals altcoin season. Okay. Some good stuff. A lot of people saying BlackRock joining the governing council, which is interesting. I'm actually kind of surprised, but I mean, maybe it's expected. Car for Coin says it doesn't get any bigger than BlackRock tokenizing Hedera. And again, I think that's what it's about. Is it's like, I think that it can get bigger. Like, I think that that's the other thing is we really have to think big about this stuff. Unlocking true potential. Yeah, some good takes here. I mean, a lot of people talking about governing council. I think literally a lot of these responses to my tweet are about the governing council. I'm actually surprised at the consensus in the Hedera community of, the desire for BlackRock to join the council. Who knows? We'll have to see. So we talked about a little bit of background on BlackRock, Archax, Onera, what it all means, what's going on. We talked about the initial news, what that story was, what it's all about. We talked about the community response in the minutes and hours leading after the initial news drop. And then today I woke up and I just saw people just freaking out about an article and post from Cointelegraph and also CoinDesk. And a part of me was surprised, and then a part of me was also not surprised. And we're going to unpack this, but I think that the best way to take a dive into this is a tweet that, where is it? HBAR Bulls shared this, and it's a really good way to give some background on this. So, or actually, no, what I'll do is I'll share that after. So, and again, this is still unfolding. This is still an unfolding story. So I woke up, article from Cointelegraph and CoinDesk. And basically it was very shocking. What happened was CoinDesk and Cointelegraph published articles respectively that were basically HBAR soars due to misunderstood announcement, and HBAR then goes down. And that was kind of the gist of it. And we have these hit pieces, and it's unfortunate to see because I think that what it shows us is that kind of like the crypto cartel is real, and it's unfortunate because, and let me kind of share this original tweet. I think this will kind of set the stage here. So Cointelegraph shares on X, the HBAR token pumped 96% on misinterpreted news that BlackRock tokenized its money market fund on Hedera when it did not. And so that was really alarming to see. And also too, again, in CoinDesk, similar article published, just about, a misinterpretation of an announcement and all these different types of things. And so it really started like this war on X between Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, basically just kind of going, why publish these articles? Because A, they're not true. And B, it just makes CoinDesk and Cointelegraph come across as very like untrustworthy. And a lot of people have shared their kind of points on that either way. And you kind of go, well, what started this? What was their intention for this? Why did they publish these articles? What was their source for this information? And you can trace it back to a post by Chris O, which is the co-founder of the Cardano Ghost Fund, a risk taker, and a dad in his bio. And this was just really crazy to read. So this is obviously a Cardano maxi. No hate to the Cardano folks. Cardano Charles, he just mentioned that he likes Hedera people again and that everything's good. So, I mean, maybe it's not anymore. Maybe that was short-lived, but I mean, like, we'll see what happens. But Chris O says, to be clear, BlackRock, the actual institution, did not select HBAR for tokenizing a fund of theirs. BlackRock had no involvement whatsoever and has no connection to the protocol. What did happen was an HBAR project through the secondary market tokenized shares of a BlackRock fund, much like I can buy a Rolex, take a pic, and post it on my X account. It doesn't mean Rolex partnered with me. These kinds of misleading marketing pump my token pieces are gross. So, don't be a sucker. So it's one of these things where not only a lot of this language, again, like misinterpreted and these types of things, like it felt like all the articles, the language was just based off of this tweet. And this tweet was referenced in a lot of those articles. And I just find it very weird because not only is this tweet like so beyond false, it comes across as somebody who is genuinely upset, right? It comes across as somebody who's genuinely upset about this news. And that's, I guess, just kind of the unfortunate thing here is like, it turns out that this news upsets a lot of people. It's not surprising, but it's just crazy to see how many people it upsets. Now, what does that mean for Hedera? Well, what it means is that, Hedera poses a threat. I've talked about this on the show before. And I mean, again, preface this, so many other great networks out there. Hedera has learned so much from other networks. We have so many cross-chain people here. It's amazing. I'm talking just more specifically on this aspect of it. But Hedera is becoming a threat. And I talk about the fact that Hedera is a disruptive technology. Hashgraph is a disruptive technology. And Archax is a good example of this. Archax is a company that has clients like BlackRock, like Aberdeen, that tokenize their funds. Archax says, well, there are other firms like us that offer these same services that are tokenizing assets. We need to be much more competitive and offer a better product. So to do that, they've made a choice to use Hedera. Archax deems that Hedera Hashgraph is a better technology to tokenize on. And in BlackRock's task to find a partner to work with to accomplish this for their fund, they chose Archax, most likely because Archax was able to deliver the most value to BlackRock in this operation. It's that simple. It's not about BlackRock choosing Hedera or BlackRock buying HBAR or BlackRock tweeting about. It's not about that at all. It's about these real world assets being tokenized on Hedera. That's what it's about, right? So that's what's wrong with this tweet is it misses the point entirely, right? This tweet is null and void because the assets are tokenized and the transaction's done. So the thing here is that it does come across as someone who's just definitely upset and triggered by this news. And it's unfortunate that they've got, well, actually they don't have a lot of followers. Well, then why is, okay, this further blows my mind about CoinDesk and Cointelegraph. I thought they were referencing a guy that had like 500,000 followers or something. This guy has 11K followers. Anyways, so that's one thing. And of course, everybody like just starts piling on this guy. And I think that it's just very interesting to see, this kind of stuff unfold, and he's at it again. But the HBAR bull responds, it's just, again, I think that's what this boils down to. Now continuing on here, like, where can we, like, where are we going from here? Like, what's the rebuttal to this, right? So the accusation is like, from Cointelegraph and CoinDesk and from this individual is like, it's not a partnership. It's not this, it's not that. We obviously understand that it's, a lot of those criticisms levied are just, they don't hold in the air, but they're out there. So people have responded. And let's take a look here. So King Solomon tweets this out, and I think that this is a pretty decent take. King Solomon, a friend of the show, tweets out, how much do you think Cointelegraph charges per hit piece? $15K? Less if there's already a friendship. Even less if there's ties to certain ecosystems. It's like ambulance chasing. And it's funny because the Cointelegraph tweet that he's retweeted is deleted. And that was another interesting element of this was Cointelegraph was tweeting out this article, right? Again, this hit piece. They were tweeting it out. Then they were deleting the tweet, tweeting it out again, deleting it, and then tweeting it out again, which was crazy to see. And I believe that the purposes of that is to exhaust the Hedera community, to leave less and less negative comments, get rid of the negative comments that had been left, and leave it appearing as though, it doesn't have as much resistance as it does. They're playing games. It's very, very weird. I mean, my initial response to it was like, oh, it's misinformation, or, oh, wires are crossed, or, oh, it's just like, pulling the trigger on some criticism or whatever. I just chalked it up to maybe some stuff like that. But no, it's if Cointelegraph and CoinDesk weren't actively trying to suppress the growth of the Hedera network, would they be doing anything differently? Probably not. HBAR Bull also shares a post on this that I think is very illuminating. History rhymes, HBAR Bull says. He says, you can see the retraction by CoinDesk in 2020 when Google joined the Hedera Governing Council. You can see the revised title, but the original title can be seen in the link. It's just such an odd strategy to make market commentary on incorrect information that it was Google Cloud and not Google. Change the title to correctly show that Google joined, but not change the assumption from it. So the issue there was, we've had this issue before when Google joined the governing council. CoinDesk published an article in 2020 that was, well, actually, Google hasn't joined the Hedera governing council. Google Cloud has joined, and they're just, again, actively piling on Hedera, and literally Google's like, well, no, we joined the governing council. So it was really weird. And again, on the latest news, the HBAR Bull continues. All I know is that the tokenization of the BlackRock fund was led by Archax. BlackRock was well aware, and not going to make comments on other stuff. Like it's basically trying to spin a story from nothing. Like the story's over. The story is the fund is tokenized, and it's BlackRock's fund, and it's tokenized in a normal way that other funds have been tokenized before. And really the story that CoinDesk and Cointelegram are coming up with, they're just coming up with something from nowhere. Also too, Zepsi tweets out something that I think really clears the air and I think sheds a whole new light on this. And this was the big twist here. This was the big twist on all this kind of drama, right? So this morning, everyone's kind of up in arms about Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, all these types of things. And people are going, well, it's misinformation, or it's this, or it's that, or back and forth. What did they know? What did they not know? All these kinds of things. People are telling CoinDesk and Cointelegraph, like, hey, you're wrong. They actually knew, blah, blah, blah. And it was because, again, CoinDesk and Cointelegraph were just coming across as though they had zero information on any of this, right? And I think that was in a lot of people's minds. Like, oh, they also maybe had zero information about anything that was happening. Well, actually, it turns out that's not true. Zepsi at the HBAR Foundation posted both CoinDesk and Cointelegraph were approached with the press release copy that was approved by BlackRock Neither decided to publish it. So let's just clarify here. So early last week, before any of this dropped, CoinDesk and Cointelegraph were provided all of the information related to this announcement. That information was approved by BlackRock in email threads. So Cointelegraph and CoinDesk received that information, which is arguably the biggest story in crypto this month, and decided not to publish about that story, and instead decided to reference a tweet from someone with 10,000 followers that somehow things were misinterpreted, not really alluding to what exactly was misinterpreted, and writing a story instead about how HBAR went up and down. So it's one of those things where you look at Cointelegraph and you look at CoinDesk and you go, like, what purpose do these crypto news organizations actually serve? You start to think about the other stuff that they publish. You start to think about the company that owns them. And then you start to think about what their investment activities are. And you start to get hypothetical. And I'll, throw something out there, again, completely hypothetical, but if CoinDesk and Cointelegraph were to have seen this news coming, understand there would be price appreciation, and decide to, once things pump, put out negative news to drive price down while opening a short position, would they be doing anything different? I don't know. It just, what Cointelegraph and CoinDesk did with this news, it just makes zero sense, especially when they had access, again, to all of the information they needed about the story, and all of that information being approved by BlackRock. So their article comes across as though they just didn't know anything, when in fact they actually knew everything. And this was something completely different than just a mistake. And also the guy who wrote the article, put out an update on it. And it's just absolute clowns. Absolute clowns. I won't say the individual's name that wrote the article. We don't want a mob on people, but just some of the worst. Crypto is straight up the bottom of the barrel of journalism. It's so sad in this industry. The quality of journalism we have, it's nuts. But I will say crypto also has one of the most flourishing kind of independent news scenes out there. We've got my show, we've got the HBAR Bulls show, we've got so many different spaces happening, and then on other networks and all sorts of things and spaces. And that's the plus side. But man, some of these publications are just absolutely horrible. The other thing too is, again, I think that some people may say, well, of course, Hedera people are upset about this. But no, it's not. This Cointelegraph article and CoinDesk article has not upset Hedera people specifically. It's upset a lot of people on a lot of other networks, because it makes you go, well, what announcements did they flub for us? Or what announcements are they gonna flub in the future? And we have Chris V, who basically is a hardcore Cardano person, and, tweets out, a quote of the Archax CEO, right? This is Archax CEO, Graham, specifically stating that BlackRock was aware of this and that these funds are tokenized on Hedera. Literally just saying well, reminder, the story is that these funds are tokenized on Hedera. It doesn't matter if BlackRock knew or not. They did, but it doesn't matter. The headline is the fund is tokenized on Hedera. And that's what this individual is referencing, Chris V. And he says, it's surprising how the FUD, bad vibes, envy, and drama from some actors in the Cardano space are spreading on a larger scale, transcending its borders. I've been in Cardano since 2017, but now I believe this Cardano ship has come to the end of a time. So basically he's talking about the fact that individual, Chris O, and some other people are just it's just so weird to see an amazing news story like this in the space just get met with that kind of stuff. And it's not good for Cardano. It's not good for Solana. It's not good for Hedera. If there was if there was something major that happened on another network that positively impacts the industry, like you have to cheerlead, you're in the industry. So it's just kind of weird to see that these hit pieces. And again, I think, we talk about, Hedera being a threat. And I think, a lot of people are threatened by this news. That's all we can take by. So yeah, you've got people on other networks that are not Hedera people that are also not happy about this. And I would say one of the last posts I'll highlight is from Tom Throwbridge. This guy was the original president of Hedera, right? Years and years and years and years ago. He says, he says, instead of cheering for what is an industry-wide moment, Cointelegraph chooses to question the entire story, as if this happened without BlackRock knowing. What a travesty of a publication, right? So that's the original Hedera president that was there in the early days. And it's just so true. It's like Cointelegraph had all the info way ahead of time, vetted by BlackRock, and chose instead to use their publication as a mechanism for the suppression of this network, which I feel Hedera's not alone in that. I think that these publications suppress a lot of networks. And this line of thinking extends far beyond Cointelegraph. It extends to people talk about the cryptocurrency subreddit. People talk about all these different types of things. Again, Hedera Hashgraph is a disruptive technology. A lot of people have a lot of money tied up in other networks, and the revenue on these other networks depends on hidden fees. You cannot hide fees. Well, it's easy to hide fees in a network that has, $2, $3 gas fees. But on Hedera, you have nowhere to hide, right? Hedera is just the antithesis of what I feel a lot of people in Web3 are about. And that's the way it should be. We shouldn't be about inefficiencies. We shouldn't be about planned obsolescence. Like, we should be about this stuff. And I think that, Hedera's done something huge. And I think that this suppression is real. I'm the first to be objective about this stuff, but what this has shown me is that there is real, very powerful suppression against the growth of the Hedera network through coordinated hit pieces. And it is only going to get worse. I have bad news for everybody. This kind of stuff is only going to get worse. This isn't going to be the first earth-shattering announcement from Hedera. There will be more, and they're going to be met with resistance. That's just the way that it is. And this is what I'm talking about is it doesn't matter how good Hedera's tech is. It doesn't matter how great the governing council is. It doesn't matter what the price of HBAR is. It doesn't matter how great the use cases on the network are. Those things will not protect this community or this network from the trials and tribulations that every other network has experienced on their way to the top 5. If you look at the top 5, all those other networks, the top 10, all those other networks have had to wade their way through mud and muck and all sorts of garbage to get there. And so I think that we have to accept that as a community, that this is a disruptive technology. These types of announcements are not going to make everybody happy. And the announcement that make people sad, those people generally have, a lot of followers and can pull a lot of weight. There's a lot of money, right? We have to keep in mind that there are powerful people that if Hedera succeeds ahead of schedule, they will lose a lot of money. It's just the reality of it. So I think that we've talked about a lot with this BlackRock stuff, and I so much appreciate everyone tuning in. We got a bunch of people here. I see Tata, I see Cosmic listening, I see Bushido, I see Cisco, I see Slaw, I see Paul. I'm just scrolling through. I see a bunch of cool people. It's so great to see everybody, especially on a day like today. This is just big news. And I think that what I want to do, I want to pull back now because we have a few other stories to talk about to wrap up the show. But I wanted to just pull back here a minute and just kind of like digest this, because we have to keep in mind this is a developing story. I don't think that the cycle on this is going to die out it's clear that this news story is on its own generating more news. That's a great sign. All news is good news. All attention is good attention. The other side of me, when I see articles like Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, these hit pieces, people are talking about HBAR, right? Ask anybody on Solana if they had ever seen a bad article about Solana in the early days, and if that dissuaded them from jumping onto Solana, right? People are like, let me put it this way. Maybe this is an extreme example. People are more likely to go and check out a network that thousands of people are saying is garbage than a network that nobody's talking about at all. There's also that side to it. Would you rather nobody be talking about the network, or would you rather everybody be talking about the network? It's that simple. In this narrative-driven crypto space, fast-paced world, they can say Hedera is the worst network in the world, and it's this, it's that, blah, 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 blah. These people are going to go. They're going to open up the chart. They're going to see crazy price action, and they're going to buy some HBAR. It's that simple. You can talk about the semantics of Hedera and HBAR and all that kind of stuff till you're blue in the face, but that's the way it is. And, I think that also this is a learning opportunity for the Hedera ecosystem. And like I said in the beginning of this, and I want to hit this again because I think it's so important, the HBAR Foundation, Swirlds Labs, Hedera need to be commended for their new, fresh approach on an event like this. In the minutes and hours, and again, this didn't happen before. In the minutes and hours after this announcement, the community was asking for information and asking questions. And in real time, high-level representatives from the foundation, from Swirlds Labs, from Hedera were responding and providing information in real time as it was happening in the minutes after the news came out. And to me, that workflow, that strategy that we have not really seen in the space before, and I think the lack of that has been a key criticism levied by the community against Hedera and Swirlds and the foundation. Different this time around. And I think that without that, now understanding the resistance and hit pieces that come out in CoinDesk and Cointelegraph and the haters and all that kind of stuff, we would not, this news would have not survived if that strategy was not executed in the way that it was. Again, to stress it, literally the minutes after the news was published, there was direct one-on-one communication, top to bottom, from the community to the people at the foundation and Swirlds, publicly on X, in DMs, in group chats. Literally, in a Discord, I saw an HBAR Foundation representative essentially crowdsource one of the tweets with the community and help write it. Like, the strategy that was put in place for this news push was completely different from what we've seen from the HBAR Foundation, Hedera, and Swirlds Labs previously. The community was in the loop. The community was on the inside. It felt like Christian. It felt like Zepsi. It felt like Shane. It felt like all these folks were firing from the hip. They weren't asking permission. They were just throwing out information to people. Zepsi was like, yeah, I'm in emails with BlackRock right now. And even the response from the CEO of Archax, right? Responding with detailed information, getting right into the conversations, providing information with like a level of professionalism that's incredible to see. This was, I think, the Hedera ecosystem at the best it's ever been. Again, despite being a little rough around the edges from the bull market, despite getting sidetracked with semantics and this and that, I think that from top to bottom, everybody's got to be commended for how they're handling this news rollout and ultimately supporting the success of this. So I want to give another round of applause to the suits. I think this was a great job. Very different. I think more of this. I think more intense than this. I think that there's pathways to bring the community in even earlier to this stuff, because it's so clear the benefit that brings to announcements like this, keeping people in the loop in the Hedera community. Because if everybody's on the same page, then we can tackle anything head on together as a community. And I really hope, really hope that those folks at the foundation, at Hedera, at Swirlds Labs are kind of sitting going like, that was different. That was good. You know, the Hedera community is a crazy resource for us to tap into. You know, I hope that it's kind of hit them how powerful that is when we all get together. And remember that sometimes accuracy is not the most important thing a lot of times. I'm sorry to say. Sometimes that gets sorted out, but in the heat of the moment, in this industry, you have to move. You have to have momentum. You have to have eyeballs. You have to have attention. You have to have a great story. You have to have energy, and you have to have people online all the time in the thousands, like an army of HBARbarians. We had all those ingredients, and now we're seeing something happen. And yeah, I think, you know, my thoughts on the BlackRock thing, like I said, this is, I can definitely say this is what I was speaking, you know, about my show, episode 118, that was late March 28th, where I shared, you know, I'd been contacted by an insider source in the ecosystem that's privy to these types of things. They shared information with me. One of these things was some major stuff happening in April. I'm going to conclude that this is what that source was referring to, and speaks to the credibility of that source. And I'm going to stay, you know, closely watching the rest of the stuff. You know, I think that everyone now references the monster use case in Q3 that my source shared with me. So we'll have to see, but this makes me feel optimistic. And, you know, I don't think this is the big moment. I don't think this is. I think this is a call to action for this community to think bigger and be much more expansive, right? This isn't just another news item. This is the start of something new. Things feel different. The tectonic plates are shifting. So I think what a lot of people should do with this is they should really open up their brains. And they should really think as big as they possibly can right now in the Hedera ecosystem. Another quick shout out. Is that my dog snoring in the background? I wonder. I wish my microphone could reach over to her. That's hilarious. For folks listening in Twitter Spaces. That's my dog. She's snoring up a storm. I put her to sleep. She's not, my dog isn't huge into crypto, to be honest with you. She was posting a little bit of FUD earlier today. I had to have a talk with her. But yeah, huge shout out to supporters. Basically, you know, show has no advertisements, no sponsors, just me and maybe some friends that stop by to chat. And people send HBAR to a wallet, and I sell that HBAR and I buy stuff for the show to make the show as awesome as it can be. We're going to be going full live video with my computer screen and all that kind of good stuff. The same things you see on the recording very soon. But yeah, huge shout out to supporters. So our last story of the day, can't go without saying, this was one that definitely was bittersweet, but I think that speaks to the growth of this ecosystem. I was in a spaces where Lehman Baird and Mance Harmon announced that Zenobia and Christian Hasker, Zenobia Gottschalk and Christian Hasker, who are really kind of the marketing dynamic duo of the whole Hedera ecosystem for a long time, they're going to be leaving Swirlds May 1st. And, you know, I think that I have really kind of two thoughts on this. One is we have to remember what an actual insane idea, objectively bad idea, the Hedera public network was at the start. It's like, hey, we're going to get a consortium of like, maybe 20, 30, 39, Fortune 500s, and they're going to own this network that we're making. Oh, and they're going to govern it. It's like the whole idea of it was just literally nuts, but there was something there, and it's like, you can have the best tech, you can have great partners, but if people don't know about it, if you can't transition to a public network, if you can't execute on a brand, on convincing enterprises to use the network, then like you get nowhere. And that in the early days rested really on the shoulders of Zenobia and Christian Hasker, who are known for, of course their shanty, but also other things. And I think that, we have to tip our hat to those two, because they've been a part of this community and a part of this ecosystem since it was, an ecosystem. And they are just really good people. I remember my NFT project, Pixel Rug. I remember doing the first mint of Pixel Rug in December 2021, years ago. This was before any NFT marketplace existed. The only way that I could sell an NFT was somebody giving me their wallet address, sending me HBAR, and then manually sending them the NFT. People would have to go to the Pixel Rug website, fill out a form, enter their info, send a transaction. I'd confirm it, all this kind of stuff. It was very cumbersome. It was very difficult. And one of those people, I don't know how he found the time, but one of those people that came in to grab one of those was Christian Hasker. Didn't have to. And that's kind of what speaks to the character of Zenobia and Christian Hasker is, since day one have been in it for the community. And I know that they're enterprise marketing people, and I think, I think that people forget that they've got the community stripes to show for it. They've got an NFT wallet with probably, more sick NFTs than most of us that they bought. And just genuinely great people, and created a foundation of a brand for Hedera. We all say hello future. We all know the story. And it really is because of those two. So I think that anyone new to the community, or anyone that's been in the community for a long time, I think we just have to remember that we owe a lot to those two. I've worked in marketing for a long time, and that's a big gamble. That's a big risk for folks like Christian and Zenobia, and to be in it this heavy for this long is just crazy. And again, truly doing stuff that's never been done before. So I think that just, again, I'm doing a lot of applause on this episode, but huge round of applause to Zenobia and Christian. Just again, fantastic people. They represent everything great about the Hedera community. And I know that, on that Spaces, I'd encourage people to go listen to it. They were reminiscing on kind of like the Facebook Libra stuff, the 2018 launch event, some deep tracks. Lehman and Mance were on that Spaces. So go listen to it. It was kind of cool. And apparently Christian is going to be doing an art project with dynamic NFTs. So that'll be interesting. But that's the bittersweet component. But what's the good news here? Well, I mean, the good news is that, any organization, any company, any network has to grow, change, and adapt. The market grows, changes, and adapts. The industry and market now versus when Christian and Zenobia, helped form Hedera is so different. It's crazy different. And in a marketing team, you have to have fresh people on when you have these major changes in the industry, right? Like everybody in crypto is on the same page right now that, these past few weeks has really marked, a bit of a departure from the bear market into a bull market, a huge change. So I think that it's a very healthy thing for both the leadership at Swirlds Labs with, a new CEO that we talked about last week, and also new marketing, right? Because Swirlds Labs does the marketing for Hedera. Having new marketing leadership is going to be so important. It's going to be very interesting to see who that is. And I think that what this speaks to in a bigger picture is, think about it, a year ago till now, right? New president of Hedera, new marketing people, new CEO at Swirlds, new governing council members. This change in vibe and openness that we've seen from Hedera and Swirlds and the HBAR Foundation, this breaking down of barriers, these tough conversations that have to be had that are happening. It feels like, again, tectonic plates are shifting in all the best ways. And it does mean we have to move on from some things, but it also means that there are more things coming. And so again, shout out to Christian and Zenobia. And just so excited to see what's going to be happening in this ecosystem. It's just what we've needed so desperately is fresh energy, new stuff, right? We got borrowing and lending coming to DeFi. We got dynamic Hashinals. We've got all sorts of stuff. We got we got BlackRock tokenizing money market funds. We got it all, baby. It's all happening on Hedera. So really appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm just scrolling through here again. We got Patches here. We got Tata still chilling. Who else we got popping by? Seminole, shout out. What's going on? Spaced, Slaw. I got to start making a list too of there are people that listen to the show literally every single week without fail. I see them, and I've seen them listening to the show for years, nonstop. So huge shout out and appreciation to you guys, especially I see No Man's Internet. No Man's Internet, you are tuning into every single one of these shows and sharing every single one of them and all that kind of stuff. So it's just absolutely incredible. But my God, with that, what a week. And I think what a week we have yet to experience. I want to see if there's any kind of real-time updates right now. I'm going to check my Twitter here. No, this isn't true. Hold on. People are sending me crazy stuff on Twitter that I don't think is true. Hold on. I have to see if this is the real guy. Okay, I think we might have. I have to kind of verify this. Let me see. So let me share my screen here. So I think I don't want to get egg on my face here. I want to see that. I don't think this is him. No, this is not him. Can't be. No, this is not him. Someone's Larry at BlackRock tweeted about HBAR. No, I don't think that happened, guys. I don't think that's actually Larry Fink. I see Patches requested to speak. I'll bring Patches up for a quick chat before we wind it down here. Patches, what's going on? What's good? You keeping up with the BlackRock stuff?
Yeah, I came into this I was in a meeting, so I didn't hear the whole thing. I'm sure you already went over it in detail, as you do perfectly every week. I am so bullish. It's undeniably bullish. And, I did hear you talk about it a little bit, but it's just, one, I'm a technologist. I do not do price speculation and I don't comment on it. But from the technology standpoint, when you have all major news organizations arguing on if something did or did not happen on your network, that's a positive thing.
Yes.
And when the end result is, if anyone decides to do research, this is just a true fact. BlackRock MMF fund is being tokenized on Hedera. That's just a true statement. And so if you dig into it, that's what the nuance seems to be. Did BlackRock choose Hedera? And that's what people are attacking.
Yeah.
But nothing in the press release or anything that was put out said they did. They just said that their funds are now being tokenized on the Hedera network.
Yeah.
And I think the pushback was from influencers skipping to the end and saying things that weren't true. Like BlackRock has chosen Hedera, which is, they've approved that Hedera can be the one to tokenize their assets. So it's like, it's just so nuanced of an argument that, again, it's just great. Everyone's talking about HBAR.
Yeah.
You know, we had this insane God candle to 18 cents and we came back down to 11. And now I think we're chilling around 12 to 13. It's just, I'm done talking to Cardano maxis and other people online. It's you know, enough information is out there that if any big post that was funny, there's tons of, and what I'm really proud of, nuanced, well-spoken, researched rebuttals. It's not, well, you're a dumb clown face, you know, and then in crypto Twitter, so it could go way worse than that. But that's not happening. It's much more, hey, no, you know, this is what, you know, they had to sign off on the press release. So everything in that press release, BlackRock did approve. They had to sign off on these assets being tokenized. The people that are tokenized the assets are accredited in the UK to do such a thing. So it's this is all good. We're in the conversation. I think the biggest problem Hedera has had is getting here, is getting to the conversation that people are listening to and are talking about. And RWAs couldn't be hotter. We have a really good first step approach to RWAs on Hedera, and it's tokenizing BlackRock funds.
Yeah.
That's something to celebrate.
Huge, 100%. And I think that too, you brought up a good point, which is like, as you know, people talk about like mass adoption of crypto is coming, or, you know, these major institutions and real world assets are going to use crypto and stuff like that. I think that is where there's the knowledge gap with crypto natives and just kind of how things work in the rest of the world, which is like, and kind of what I mentioned on the show is what these stories are going to end up amounting to is, you know, companies like Secure or whoever BlackRock did their tokenized product on Ethereum with, and then Archax with their tokenized product on Hedera. It's those companies, right, are going to use technologies that provide the best value for their clients, and their clients are going to go with companies that provide them the best value. So BlackRock went with Archax because they provide a great value for this. And BlackRock has a product that Archax wants to make available, and Hedera is a part, like it's literally what Lehman talks about is like people are going to be using Hedera without realizing it. And you hit the nail on the head where it's like, all of that isn't the story. The story is that it's on Hedera. Like that's just literally the story. And to me, it doesn't even matter if BlackRock knew or not. You know, that's my opinion on it.
Right. And so again, they definitely signed off on the press release. Christian Hasker tweeted that out. I agree with you that there was a lot of openness from responses from high level people that we haven't really seen before. So that was really good commentary on that. And at the end of the day, the question I would pose to anyone is, do you believe that BlackRock, a institution that has said publicly that they believe RWAs are the next stage in which, you know, tokenization of assets is the next stage of investment, do you believe that they would have their fund that they had to approve to go onto a network and then not look at how well it does and how it functions and understand the technology? Mm-hmm. Is that a thing that BlackRock would do when they know that this is a industry that they want to get into, when they have some of their funds actually being tokenized on a network?
Yeah. Oh,
it just pull that thread.
Oh, 100%. And even, you know, going a level up, I think Credible Crypto put out one of my favorite tweets on this, which Credible Crypto is like, let me get this straight. BlackRock has tokenized their funds on 2 networks, Ethereum and Hedera. Am I wrong? You know,
yeah, it's good company.
Yeah.
It's good company to be in.
Yeah. I was like, okay, this is that kind of sets the stage there. And yeah, I think that like I was saying, like where my mind goes is like, this is definitely not the big moment. This is definitely a start. It feels like a start to something, because BlackRock is not the first real world asset tokenized on Hedera, right? And it's not the first real world asset tokenized on Hedera by Archax, right? Before BlackRock came, there was already, tens of billions of dollars of real world assets tokenized on Hedera. This BlackRock is a very powerful name. So this one is especially exciting, but I think it's just another, it's just another one, and we'll kind of see the next one. It'll be very interesting. But while I have you real quick here, Patches, maybe a quick little, just before we wrap the show, quick little debrief on the Hashinals news. That was a great Spaces yesterday, and just maybe capture some of that on the show here today.
Yeah, Dynamic Hashinals definitely picked the wrong day to try to make noise in the Hedera space. I'm okay with it. It definitely, like, we had a good time. We have, there's 5 Defiants that are the first dynamic Hashinals that are up on Centex right now for auction. It's really, really cool, and it's not been fully understood by the community, because it's Hashinals alone are a little bit complex of an idea when you really, as a consumer, just go, okay, well, I have an NFT and I see it, right? Like, I bought it off of market or with my friend, P2P, and why do I care? And the answer is so nuanced that your eyes glaze over if you're not like an engineer. And so the real answer is, like, it's really boiled down. The benefit of Hashinals is the longevity of that storage is paired much closer to the longevity of proof of ownership. That's really it.
Yeah.
If Hedera goes away tomorrow, so does your NFT, so does the content of your NFT. If IPFS goes away tomorrow, all of the data on your NFT goes away, but your ownership is still here.
Right.
That's the difference.
I think it's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's really cool. But the dynamic part is, we were all really pumped for 657, and really 657 is a stepping stone to trying to get parity with Ethereum.
Right.
Having the flexibility of a smart contract, it's ERC 721, which is what most NFTs are, or 1155. You can adapt the metadata very readily. You can make the metadata adapt based on time of day. There's a lot of nuanced, cool things you can do. And the token service has the benefits that when you interact with it, it's not as dangerous because it's not a smart contract. It's there's guardrails on what it can do. And those guardrails have reduced some functionality, like adapting metadata. Right. 657 adds the ability to change the metadata, but it doesn't provide some of the cool logic-based stuff that you might want to do. And so dynamic Hashinals works in tandem with 657. It's not like either or, it's both.
Gotcha.
So you can create a dynamic Hashinal. You mint one, and it's just a picture of the number 1. You go to, right now it's just tier.bot/inscribe, and you want to update your Hashinal. You upload a picture that says 2. You send it. Anyone who had that Hashinal now sees 2 in their wallet. Say you update it to, 7, and you're like, no, I really want it to be 3. I put the wrong image. If you had the metadata key, you could go and change the pointer to a topic ID that did have 1, 2, 3. And the provenance of what was in that dynamic Hashinal will change. But you'll see it on chain. And so you have the ability to change the pointer, and the pointer has an ability to change the content, and they work together.
Gotcha. That's wild, man.
This is going to be so cool. It's going to be so cool.
It already is so cool. And I think
yes.
that I hope, to your point, I hope that this theme of too much good news happening continues. I think it's good stuff. And I think that with Hashinals, I think that it pairs so well because at the same time that we're getting more attention on Hedera as a network and as a community, you know, Hashinals just provides a great bridge for those looking to experiment with stuff they already own potentially. You know, you talk about, you know, the interoperability of what Hashinals can do for, let's say, ordinals on Bitcoin. It's like this type of thing that you're doing with Hashgraph Online and stuff, and then all the different types of news that's happening, that's growing attention on the ecosystem. It's like, in my opinion, it couldn't be happening at a better time.
Yeah, it's we need take a step back. 2 years, it felt really, really cold in the winter. And there were a bunch of really awesome developers here struggling, putting up really good code and really great products that arguably, technologically, if you put them against other products, you'd be like, oh my God. But the problem was no one knew.
Right.
No one talked about it. And it was a crypto winter. So, you know, that's compounded. We're past the halvening. We have Bitcoin ETFs that have completely thrown off historical halvening market dynamics. So we had an all-time high before the halvening. That's never happened before in the history of Bitcoin. So we're in new uncharted territory. And today, after the halvening, after a new all-time high on Bitcoin has happened, which is the market maker that pushes all crypto, everyone's talking about Hedera and BlackRock because BlackRock is having assets tokenized here.
Yeah.
That could not happen at a better time. And again, we need to continually positively, again, I'm so proud of this. Like, no one is throwing poop. Everyone is educating. And you just need to continue to do what we're doing. And I think, we're paddling really hard behind this giant tidal wave as a surfboard analogy for some reason. And I feel like, we just got to keep paddling. We're on the trajectory. Literally just keep the hands in the same motion, keep the arms powering, and we're going to get to that tidal wave of adoption and understanding because the technology and the surfboard we're on is freaking great. We just got to keep paddling.
Love it. It's about everybody here doing everything they can to make sure that people have a great experience, whether it's popping into a Discord or making a swap or minting an NFT or a Hashinal or anything. It's like whatever we can do to just make sure that it's like a party's happening. It's like, let's make sure, the bathroom's clean and the toilets are working and the music's going and, and it's like when people show up, it'll be a good time, I love it.
And they're showing up.
Exactly.
We have, $4 billion in volume in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, so that's the part.
That's like more than the market cap of 24 hours ago.
Yeah, that's the part that blew my mind. And like I was trying to illustrate to people on the show was like, you guys remember, right? That at the peak of the bull market when Hedera was at like 50 cents, like just maxed out all-time high. It was like, $500 million in volume, like all-time high. It's like yesterday we had like you would average over the last year, like maybe $50 to $100 million volume per day. But it's like, yes, like in the last 24 hours, we've had like $3.5 to $4 billion in volume. Like that one number alone should really tell people everything they need to know about what's happening right now. Those numbers don't lie.
Yeah. And just watch how it getting pulled into non-good faith arguments because they're everywhere on crypto.
Yeah.
And maxis will move goalposts and you'll prove them wrong and they'll never acknowledge it and say something else. So just make sure don't let your blood pressure get too high.
Yep.
2, make sure that you're linking good research information so that when someone else is reading, like don't try to convince the guy or the woman or whoever is talking. Try to put enough information there that when someone else reads it, there's resources for them to get to the actual facts that make sense. And so that's all I'd say. Don't, trolls and flames can only, flame. What do you call it? Like troll flaming only works if there's substance to you.
Yes.
So yeah, and again, I haven't really seen much of the flinging. So it's just everyone just keep doing what you're doing. I already said it.
And also,
I love it. I got a minute, so I got to bounce
yeah.
to a meeting. But I really appreciate you having me up, and absolutely love your podcast.
Thanks so much, Patches. You take care. Have a great rest of your day, man. Appreciate you. And what I'll say too, like to Patch's point, now's a good time that instead of getting into flame wars with people, like put in the energy and highlight community projects. Like if you find yourself on X about to argue with some Dumbo about something or whatever right now, like Patches said, like there's just going to be people with bad faith arguments. It's like, check yourself, switch gears and go, am I about to pour my heart and soul into an argument, or do I instead, highlight a community project? Let's raise visibility on that. Just had some breaking news just now, just before we end the show. HBAR Foundation tweets out, France's state-owned energy supplier and Hedera governing council member, EDF official, is building multiple real-world asset use cases on the Hedera Guardian. So this is another news story that's happening as so much happening right now. From electric vehicles, green hydrogen certification, and trading to decentralized energy trading with Google Cloud, EDF is leading the charge for the Hedera Guardian through their recent renewable energy certificate proof of concept, which we talked about on the show previously. It feels like they're already going to be moving that to the next stage. This purpose of this proof of concept was to establish a reliable and transparent system for tracking and verifying the renewable energy sources used to power EV charging infrastructure. And it seems like they're moving forward with it. That was a big use case. We talked about it. And again, yet another banger in the ecosystem. My God, if I don't end this show now, I'm going to be talking forever and I will never eat my lunch and I'll collapse at my desk here. But big show this week. So we talked about a bunch of cool ecosystem updates, like Pack Token, Dynamic Hashinals, upcoming shows with the HBAR Foundry, all sorts of different things. And then we took a deep 4-part dive into the BlackRock Hedera news, the background, what happened, what was the response, and then what's some of this kind of FUD that the ecosystem is dealing with, and my thoughts on it, other people's thoughts from the community that they shared with me. So much stuff. So that's the show. That's a big show. I appreciate everyone sticking around. And I think that it's time to think big. We got to think really big. And like I mentioned too, the show is going to be transitioning to full live video. So stay tuned for that. Don't miss my HBAR Foundry spaces I'm hosting Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, live on X and LinkedIn and YouTube, live video stream with folks from the HIP 920 working group talking about how the music industry is going to be moving into Hedera. That'll be great. So tune in for that. And what else? Thanks to supporters. Check out hashgraph.news. That website's busted right now because I'm building it. I'm doing so much at once right now. I'm rebuilding the Hedera, the Hashgraph enthusiast website. So I will say, actually, don't go. Please do not go to hashgraph.news. Don't go there because it's all broken. But the content's flowing, and expect this episode to drop, the recording, later today or this evening. I want to get this out hot and fresh, especially clips about BlackRock and all that kind of stuff for folks to share. So when you see those clips getting published, boost that stuff. Let's get the word out there. I appreciate everyone listening. And with that, we're going to have to see what's coming next with Hedera. Is BlackRock going to join the governing council? As many people in the community have said, we don't know. What's the Q3 monster use case going to be? We don't know. All we know is that a bazillion cajillion dollars of real world assets are tokenized on Hedera. I'm loving it. Hello, future. Goodbye, past.
Thanks for listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show, hosted by Brandon Davenport.
Listen to past episodes and support the show at itsbrandond.com/HBAR.